When is enough enough and how to set benchmarks for your life? You are listening to the right episode of the Loan Officer Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kiles. And Carl White, we have a great topic today. You and I were just talking a few minutes in the green room and said, man, we've got to push record on this one because how many times have we heard the question, Carl, when's enough enough? Like how do I set a benchmark for what I'm doing?
Or I think it even goes further back than that. It's like I'm on this journey
Yeah,
for my financial well-being.
that's right.
I know where I'm at, but if I don't know where I'm going to, if I don't know what that number is, it's like,
Mm,
hey, Steve, I need you to go build a foundation for a building. And
awesome.
you
Where?
go, all right, well, is this a shed to park your mower? Or are you building a hotel?
Mm.
Because if you go build a hotel foundation, I said, dude, I just needed a 10 by 10 to put my shed.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
wasted all that energy. Or if you put in for a shed and I go, no, dude, I'm building a hotel. That's completely like even when we hit that benchmark, even when we get that foundation, we're gonna have to just tear it up and start all over because it's not enough.
Right.
And so I think it's so important to have, and I'm going to say a finish line, but you're going to see, I think it's three finish lines. I
Hmm.
think it's so important to know what our destinations are. And then it's so much easier to map out what do I need to do because now I
Yep.
know, it's like, hey, I need a vehicle.
Yeah.
Awesome. You give me a bicycle. No, dude, I'm going to California and I need to be there in 3 days. Or you give me a Greyhound bus, and I go, dude, we're just going down to we're going down, taking the kids, down to the park, and it's just my two kids. I can't even park it at the park. It's too big. They won't allow
Yeah.
it in there,
Yeah.
and so you have to before to choose your vehicles to get you there,
Where
and
you
I'm
want to
using
go.
air quotes
Yep.
on there. You have to figure out where is there, like where are you
Mm.
going? What do you
Hmm.
what's the end zone look like here? And so I have these things that I call my benchmarks.
This is so good. Hmm.
And brother, this was a life changer for me. Like this
Yeah.
was a really big
Yeah.
deal. So benchmarks there's three of them for me. There was
Okay.
three of them. And benchmark number one is how much money do myself and the lovely Mrs. White need that we're okay? Like we got to
Yeah.
be careful.
Yeah.
Maybe not fly first class, maybe not travel the globe anytime we want to, but we're okay. We're not reliant on Social Security. We're not reliant on our kids, hope they bail us out of this one, kind of thing. Or my car's not good. Boy, maybe go down to the church and see if somebody wants to donate one to us. Like, how
Hmm.
much money do I need that we're okay? Like we're
Yep.
okay. We got to be careful, but we're okay. So so I'll describe that one and
Okay.
I'll tell you what my number is, and then we'll go to the next one. I think
Okay.
that's probably the best way to do it. So my benchmark number one, by the way, this does not make the number right or wrong. Yours might
Right.
be drastically more, it might be drastically less. Like my dear friend and one of our partners, long time partner, Diane, her numbers might be a little bit lower than mine because she loves camping.
Hmm.
Right? You give that girl a pup tent and a backpack,
She's
and her
good.
and her husband,
Oh yeah.
nicest guy to ever meet, Scott. Man, they're in heaven. That's the lovely Mrs. White. She likes going to New York on a vacation. For Diane to go to New York would be like her week of hell.
Hmm.
Like she'd much rather go camping, right?
Yeah.
Which costs a lot less. So anyway, so this does not make this a right number, but my number actually came to how much do we need per year
Hmm.
in income. And remember, this is taxable income, right?
Yeah.
So in taxable income, I figured out that we can get by on 150,000.
Okay.
And when I say get by, okay, like we're
Hmm.
comfortable.
Hmm.
Like I can't go buy a new Tesla truck every other year, but I can go get a nice 2 year old uh, Toyota Rav4 that's an awesome car, right? And if I need to change the tires, I can do that, right?
Yep.
So for me, 150,000. And so you go, all right, how much money do you need that you get a passive income from that
Yeah.
to equal 150,000? couple things you have to look at here. So a rough rule of thumb is is if you put X amount of dollars, say in the S&P 500, right, which is a stock fund or a mutual fund,
Right.
right? So for the last, I think it was 80 years, I just looked it up. The last 80 years, it was just over 9% return. So here's a problem. If 150,000 works today,
Mm-hmm.
5 years from now, it
It's not
won't,
gonna work. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I just saw some the what they're calling the real inflation numbers over the last like 3 years. It's around 30%.
Wow.
Right. And that's about
Yeah.
right. That's about
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
about what we've noticed. You know, you go to the grocery store and
You
it's
notice. Oh
even
yeah.
maybe even 40%. So if 100, and I'm not, that's not a political, it's just, it is what it is. Right.
Yeah.
So if I have 150,000 for the next 10 years, somewhere in year 5, 6, 7, 8, we're going to have to really be careful.
Yep.
Right. So that number needs to increase at least at the rate of inflation. It's a general rule of thumb, and I know we're doing a lot of numbers here, but this is a big deal. As a general rule of thumb, if you account for 4% inflation, most years you're going to be
You're
okay.
good. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So now if I go back to the S&P 500, it gives me 9%.
So you're able to pull out 5.
I pull out 5 as my
Yeah.
spendable money.
Yeah.
The other 4 gets
Mm-hmm.
reinvested into the fund.
Mm-hmm.
And so next year it's not 150,000, it's 150,000 plus
Plus
4%.
4%. Yep.
Right?
That's right.
And so now that's growing and compounding. And the next year, that amount plus 4%, right? So that means that I can live on most years, and this is kind of a common number, of about 5%, as long as I've got it invested in something very, very stable, which S&P 500, very stable. Not a recommendation, by the way. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not a financial planner. I'm just sharing what I do, right?
Sure.
So I can get that 5%, and I could spend that each and every year in perpetuity and never run out of money. Like the money is, if I live to be, if Maria lives to be 105, which is possible,
It's likely.
it's likely her,
It's
yeah,
likely.
her parents,
Yeah.
her father, I think, is 98, and he smoked, and I'm going to say smoke and drank. He wasn't a drunkard, but he smoked
Sure.
and and ate a lot of hamburgers his life, and he's 98.
Yeah.
She's as clean as a whistle. And so anyway, so she'll likely never run out of money. So if I want 150,000, and I need, how much
Mm-hmm.
money do I need
3
that
million.
5% spends that off? It'd be 3 million.
Yep.
So if I have 3 million in the S&P 500 or whatever device you have, it spends off 150,000 that I can
Yep.
put in my pocket, and it spends off 120,000 to add to the fund to
Mm-hmm.
keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
And so my benchmark number one that we're okay is 3 million,
Mm-hmm.
i.e. 150,000, i.e. the fund grows at 120,000 to keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
Benchmark number two, I can go anywhere I want to go. I can go anytime I want to go, and I can go with whoever I want to go. And again, this depends on what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, benchmark one, like if your kids are still in school, you got, you have to look at all of your expenses, to see where you are, right?
Yeah.
So, and it also assumes that you're debt free.
Yep.
So let's just use, for example, I have a home mortgage of, I'm gonna use that easy round number, 500,000. You don't need 3 million, you need 3,500,000
There you go.
to become debt free. Because even when you're debt free, we're still kind of renting our house from the government. Let's be honest here, with the taxes,
Sure.
and we have insurance here. We have insurance, and so you still got to pay the taxes, insurance, the water bill, and all that, other. So this is going to assume that you're debt free, and whatever number that is for you, and so whatever. All right, benchmark number two: I can go anywhere I want to go, anytime I want to go, and take anybody I want to
Yeah.
take, anytime I want to take. For me, that number was 500,000, because here I am debt free, $500,000 a year, and I've got no mortgage payment, I got no car payment, I got no boat payment. My kids' college are paid for. $500,000 a year is a lot of. I mean, I can take a lot of plane flights for that. I can fly first class to London for about, first class to London runs me about $5,000, give or
Yeah.
take. So round trip is 10. Take the lovely Mrs. White, that's 20. I mean, crap, we could do that
Quite a bit.
quite. Yeah, I don't want to go once a month,
Yeah.
right? I want to go like once a year because in between those, I also enjoy going up to Asheville, North Carolina, which costs almost nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I also enjoy going to Myrtle Beach. I also enjoy going to our house up in High Point, North Carolina. I enjoy coming to visit you. And then I got a place to stay when I'm there, right? Because you
Yeah.
got a fine home. So 500,000 is a lot of money for me.
Yeah.
That if I like, we're getting ready, we're going to Alaska here in about, I can't remember exactly when it is. I think it's in July. And so we're going to July. And so I'm going, Maria's going, Alexis is going, one of my daughters, my son's going, and his significant other's going, right? And they could pay for their own, right? They're all grown adults. They got
Yeah.
great job. One's an engineer, one's a doctor. So they got great, but I want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what dads do, you know. And so we're all going and we're going nice, right? We're going to have a good time. And I can't do that every month, but I don't, they can't go every month.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it every month. I don't want to go to Alaska every month. Some months I just want to sit here and hold the lovely Moses White hand and go for a walk on the beach, which costs nothing. And that's exactly what I want to do. So for me, that was 500,000 was benchmark number two. So if I need 500,000, we do the
Mm-hmm.
reverse math again. I need $10 million. And I have to tell you, when first time I did this little exercise, I remember looking at benchmark number one, thinking that will never happen. I can't even imagine. Right. So as you're listening to today and you're going, some of you are going, I already got that. Right. Tell me more, Carl. I already got that. And some of you are going, how is that even possible?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm telling you, we'll talk about that in just a second, but you have to know the destination first,
Yep.
and then you pick the vehicle. You don't pick the vehicle and then decide the destination. You decide the destination first, then you pick the vehicle. Right. So, and just understand it is possible.
Yeah.
Because when I hit benchmark number one, I went, oh, unbelievable. Well, I pulled that off. No way I'll hit benchmark number two. And then we hit benchmark number two. And I went, holy cow. Now, for complete transparency, I have not hit my benchmark number three. So my benchmark number three is, wait a minute, Carla. Benchmark number two is I go anywhere I want, anytime I want, with whoever I want. And I do, right? Um, what else is left? And then it starts getting kind of what I would call stupid money, right? And for me, that number is like, hey, I want to ski behind two aircraft carriers and I own the aircraft carriers. Like it's just like stupid money,
Yeah.
for what? I don't know. Whatever. Right. Because at 10 million, at 500,000, you can be very generous. You can help a lot of people out. You can, whatever your life passion is, to help build schools or hospital, whatever, you can do a lot with $500,000 each and every year when you have no debt. So my benchmark number three was 50 million. Actually, I said it wrong. My benchmark number three was 2 million a year, being debt free. I don't even know what I do with 2 million a year. Like
Yeah.
I really don't. I literally don't. You could buy $1 million boat every year, and who wants to do? Really, who wants to? Who like that? That makes no sense whatsoever. I don't want to buy a new boat every year. I like my 1 year old boat just fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you'll find that when you have more toys, you use each toy less, so they tend to last longer.
Mm-hmm.
Like my motorcycle is a 2012, I think it is, and I just don't have that many miles on it because I got other toys. I got another motorcycle. I got a
Yep.
different one, right,
Yep.
or whatever, Jeep or whatever. And so that number for me was 50 million,
Mm.
and 50 million spins off $2 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And as I sit here today, I think I might run out of time, and I might run out of time. But I thought that on benchmark number one and benchmark number two, and it's not until I identified benchmark number three that I start heading in that direction. And so I think having these benchmarks is a really, really, really
Powerful.
big deal.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, these numbers are not, they sound like I'm just pulling the numbers out of the air. We actually did the math on it. So
Mm-hmm.
when we came up with 150 that we're okay, we figured out, all right, we got a house here. What's the tax insurance? We have a house
Yep.
in High Point, North Carolina. What's the tax insurance? We have a condo on Myrtle Beach. What's the taxes insurance? Uh, how often am I going to need a new car? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a car guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spend most of my time in a 2007 Jeep, right? That's 9 times out of 10. If I'm going driving, I'm taking my Jeep, and I love my Jeep. I could go get a new Jeep. I don't want a new Jeep. On this Jeep, we tore out all the carpet. We sprayed bed liner in it. I can go down
Smoke
the beach.
cigars in it.
I can
Come on.
smoke a cigar from time to time in it. I can go down to the
Yeah.
beach, walk in the sand, get in it with sand. My yard guy, comes and just literally hoses it out because it's just there's no carpet in the entire vehicle, right? And so and that's what I want. And yeah, so figure out like how much you want to give to help other people.
Yep.
How much is your groceries? How many trips are you going to do? And you got to coach. You got on the benchmark number one. You got to go coach,
Hmm.
right? And maybe every now and then take the train. Maybe every now and then we'll take vacations to other people's homes. Like if I want to go to Houston and stay at the Best Western, maybe I'd stay at Steve's house. Which totally cool, right? Because you stay at my house, and so that getting by number, it's not luxury. It's getting by, but not eating
Yeah.
dog food, but
Yeah.
which actually is
You
probably
just got
more
to be
expensive.
aware. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be aware at for me at 10 million, I don't have to be that aware.
Hmm.
Like I as long as I don't have a gambling issue, or something like that, which I don't. As long as I don't have a gambling issue or something like that. But if I can go gamble from time to time in Vegas if I want to at 500,000. I just can't be laying $50,000 a time on the blackjack table, right?
There you go.
You can't
Yeah.
do that. At 50 million, you could even do that from time to time if you so desired. My guess is if that's something you want to do from time to time, there's a problem there somewhere that somebody needs to deal with. But you get the idea. So I think these benchmarks are a really, really big deal.
I love
And
it.
so I would advise you, as you're listening today, is grab pencil and paper, and on benchmark number one, what are your minimums,
Hmm.
right? On benchmark number two, like dream a little bit. Like, what do you want to do? And for some of you, might go, yeah, but I want to fly my own plane, and I don't want it to be, a piston Cessna. I want it to be, a Learjet, say. Fine, pencil in that number. That runs about 1 million a year, give or take. Once you buy it, once you own it, about 1 million a year for a private jet. And for you, that might be like, hey, that's part of my anywhere, anytime number.
That's right.
For me, I just don't fly that much, and I don't mind flying. I want to be comfortable. I want a nice seat. I want to be one of the first ones on the plane. I want to be one of the first ones off. So I like a nice seat. I like the little warm nuts and stuff, right? I like getting pampered. I do. I like getting pampered. They give me a little mint. I like that little mint, right? But I just don't need that. But you might, and so factor that number in.
There you go.
In my case, I want to make sure that I have domestic help here at the house to help us out. For you, they might go, we don't need that. I enjoy working in the yard. Awesome. Your number's going to be different than mine. Bigger doesn't mean better in this case. But once you have that number in place, if you're looking at that going, how in the world can I do that number?
Hmm.
That's where Steve comes into place.
Yeah.
So, Steve, I'm in the mortgage business. I'm wanting to hit these benchmark numbers. I need some help.
Yeah.
How do you actually make the income to make that happen? How can we help them out?
Hey, here's what I would do. I would say go to my calendar. Carl, I'll help you map out a plan. You've already got some business coming in and you're saying, hey, I can really see the momentum growing. And, I'd love to have some help working through this. Go to meetupwithsteve.com. It's list every 30 minutes on my calendar. Grab a spot, put in the notes what we're going to talk about. We'll jump on a Zoom call and we'll build it for you and walk through it together. So it'll be a Zoom call. So make sure you're at a computer and we'll work through it, man. I'd love to do that with you at meetupwithsteve.com, www.meetupwithsteve.com. Carl, this is great. I think especially at this time of year, we've got to be thinking about the long play. What are we doing it for? What is the purpose, and how do we build a life and lifestyle where we get the opportunity to do things we love with the people we love while making a greater difference and having time to spend with the people that matter most. And this is one of the conversations that I don't think we talk about enough. It's always, more and busy and conversion and sales. This is the one where you start strategically planning what the next 10, 15,
Hey,
and
and
20
let me
years
tell you
look like.
something. Let me tell you
Yeah.
the ultimate failure in life for me. The ultimate failure in life is when I see some of my buddy, and boy, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It really does. I think the ultimate failure is when you have a whole bunch of money
Mm,
and nobody to love,
mm,
right? Because we spent all of our time chasing that number,
Yep.
and none of the time farming at home
Yep.
with our spouses, with our mates,
Yep.
our friends, with our kids if you have them, with our mom or dad or my brothers or my sisters, and that we hit these numbers, and and then everything else is a failure. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to make this happen in a very very cool way, and we can definitely Steve can
We
definitely
can help you.
help
Yeah,
map
we'll
that
help
out
you
for
map
you.
that out.
How do you hit these numbers without breaking a sweat, without sacrificing
That's right.
my time with my family and my free time, and doing it in a very 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 cool way?
Yep.
Uh, you can 100% pull that off. So what's the
Yep.
link again, Steve?
Meetupwithsteve.com. Meetupwithsteve.com. And I'll map it out for you. Would love to grab 30 minutes. And Carl, what a great episode. Hey, thank you for sharing your wisdom. I think it's important that we're hearing things like this that keep us focused on what matters most. So, for everybody, listen, thank you for being a part of the community. We're honored to do life with you. If you wouldn't mind, hey, do this for us. Give us wherever you're consuming the content, would you share this with two loan officers or branch manager, someone in your office that you know needs to hear more about benchmarks and thinking about the future and what it looks like for them? Share it with them. Give us a review wherever you consume content. And remember this, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.